and I am currently the festivals coordinator at VisionNine. So I work on Boardmasters and NAS festivals, but I recently left the Association of Independent Festivals, and there I was the campaign manager for our Safer Spaces at Festivals campaign that we launched last year. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about that campaign and the work that we did at AIF, along with some audience survey results and the next steps that festivals and events can be taking in this area. So how big is the problem of sexual assault in live music, and why the need for a campaign? Well, according to Rape Crisis England and Wales, over 500,000 adults are sexually assaulted in the UK each year. That's 85,000 women being raped and 12,000 men. Of those, only 15% choose to report it to the police. And there was a 12% rise in this sort of crime between 2016 to 2017. Now, due to the massive issue of underreporting, it's difficult to quantify this particular problem in relation to live music and festivals. But over the past few years, there has been some high-profile incidents reported in the media. So AIF festival members felt that it was time for AIF to put together a campaign that reiterated their zero-tolerance stance towards any kind of sexual assault or harassment at their events. We also wanted to highlight some of the good work that was already being done in this area in the hopes of inspiring other organisers to follow suit. So there were several strands and elements to our campaign, so I'm going to talk a little bit about each one and then the results. So the blackout. We used this GIF to launch the campaign in early May. So we had just over 30 festivals black out their websites for 24 hours with this GIF. We consulted campaign partners on the imagery and the tone to make sure that it was correct and impactful. Our campaign partners were Safe Gigs for Women, Girls Against, Rape Crisis, the White Ribbon Project, Penny Mellor, who is a festival health and safety and welfare expert, and Kelly Benetton from DHP. The three main messages of the GIF, as you can see, were hands off unless consent, don't be a bystander, and zero tolerance to sexual assault. We also made sure to keep the stick figures gender neutral so as to not exclude anyone from the narrative. Here you can see who participated in the website blackout. So we had just over 30 festivals black out their websites. It's important to note that it wasn't just AIF members that participated in this, and we welcomed any festivals to participate. We also had the likes of Festival Republic black out their websites. Now, there was trepidation with some of the festivals about initially participating in this campaign. They were worried it might seem like they had a bigger issue than they actually did. But it was great because they did participate, and the response from festival audiences and the media was incredibly positive and welcoming, because the festival was seen to be being proactive and addressing and raising awareness of this issue rather than pretending it doesn't happen. So another aspect of the campaign was our Charter of Best Practice. So festivals could sign up to this separately to the blackout, so you didn't have to do both. You could pick and choose, or you could do one or the other. The key points to the Charter of Best Practice were zero tolerance to sexual assault. So by signing this, the festival is committing to making it clear to all attendees, artists, volunteers, anyone on site, that they have a zero tolerance policy towards sexual assault or harassment at their event. We defined sexual assault for the purposes of the Charter as any unwanted sexual act or activity, and festival organisers were also committing to supporting authorities in any investigations and charging decisions, and any offenders would be pursued and possibly evicted from their event. Consent, so the organiser would also be promoting the principle of consent on site at all times regarding any sexual activity for festival audiences. A victim-led approach, so the festival would always respond from a place of belief and take a victim-led approach when dealing with disclosures of sexual assault. So this means if the victim doesn't want to report it to the police, it's not reported to the police. If they don't want you to call their friends, you don't call their friends. You do what they want to do because it happened to them. Training, so the festival would commit to training all staff, volunteers, briefing security as best as possible when it comes to prevention, reporting procedures and actions, and supporting victims. And finally, awareness. So the festival commits to raising awareness on site with all attendees, all staff, around not being a bystander and reporting and calling things out as they happen, but also communicating this sort of information pre-event as well, so it's not just on site. So we had over 70 festivals sign up to the charter, and you can see them all listed here. Sorry for the massive wall of text. And the charter is actually still open. We didn't close it. Anyone can sign up to it. You can look at the charter best practice on the AIF website and find out more, and we can also put you in touch with training providers. So on the day of the blackout, our online reach for the campaign was as follows. So we estimated over 18 million followers on Twitter and over 9 million followers on Facebook. We had over 45 media outlets and other organisations report incredibly supportively of the campaign. Media outlets including BBC Newsbeat, Sky News, Billboard, Rolling Stone, NME, Vice and Noisy, among others. And we also had journalists who'd previously reported very negatively on the issue do a 180 and be really supportive and positive about what we were trying to do. So every year, AIF conducts an annual audience survey, and last year, for the first time, we added a question about sexual assault. And I think it's also the first time that the question's actually been put directly to a festival audience. There's been lots of media reports and things about it, but the question's never been asked. So we had 2,031 festival goers answering this question. Have you ever experienced sexual assault or harassment at a festival? 1,942 of them said no, but 89 said yes. Now, that's just over 4% of respondents saying yes, which doesn't sound as bad as it could be, but then if you think about 2,031 people, that's basically the size of the Shepherd's Bush Empire. If that many people went to the Shepherd's Bush Empire for a gig one night and nearly 90 people walked away having been sexually assaulted or harassed, that's horrific. The second part of the question, so if you said yes, was did you report it? Only 20 people said yes to reporting it, and 69 said no. Again, that's why this is an even scarier part of this issue, is the underreporting. As a percentage, 20 people saying yes, they reported it is 22%, which is higher than the national average according to Rape Crisis, which, as I mentioned earlier, was 15%, but it's still not good enough. And I also think if we surveyed a bigger pool of respondents, it would come closer to the national average. So I plucked out some of the main reasons for not reporting the incidents, which are quite disturbing. I didn't want to make a big deal, didn't think it was serious, happens often, no point. Didn't think it would be taken seriously, no one to report it to, didn't know who to report it to, and I didn't think at the time that it was sexual harassment and it wouldn't be taken seriously. Now, based on this survey, that's only 1 in 5 people reporting incidents of sexual assault or harassment at festivals. So for every 1 report that you get, there's another 4 people who aren't reporting these things. Now, A, those 5 victims shouldn't be getting assaulted or harassed in the first place, but B, there's still loads more work to be done to get those other 4 people to come forward and report these incidents so that the festivals can help and support them and possibly prevent it from happening to anyone else. So these are just some of the things that some festivals are already doing, which is great to see. So Safe Gigs for Women is an organisation that some of you have probably heard about. It's run by volunteers and they set up stalls on site at gigs and festivals, and they just generally raise awareness of sexual assault in live music environments. So they've been on site at the 2000 Trees, Boomtown Festival, and loads of concerts over the past year, and it's just been increasing. Reclaim the Night was an Isle of Wight council initiative. They were on site at Festival for several years, promoting consent to the audience. Patron safety hotlines. Laneway Festival in Australia, they trialled a 1-800 Laneway hotline last year where attendees could call it if they were feeling uncomfortable, unsafe, intimidated, but they could also call it on behalf of someone else. So if they saw something happening, they could call it out by calling that number. Fairport's Property Convention in the UK have also had a safety hotline for many years now, and they actually print the number on the wristbands, and every incident is hand-logged, which I think is great. Anti-harassment policies and festival goer ethos. So Riot Fest in Chicago has a brilliant anti-harassment policy on their website. It clearly lays out everything that's unacceptable behavior, just in case you were confused and weren't sure if groping someone was okay. Festival goer ethos, so Secret Garden Party developed their own kind of code of conduct for attendees in the hopes of only attracting that kind of person to their festival. Programming in speakers' tents and speakers' corners. So again, Boomtown Fair, Secret Garden Party, they've had sexual assault on the agenda at their festivals for the past few years. Freddie Fellows from Secret Garden Party has been a massive advocate for this for several years now. Posters and imagery on site. So we had Festival Republic display our campaign GIF on the big screen at some of their festivals last summer. Boomtown Fair used Safe Gigs for Women information and sexual assault information on a page in their event program. And Stand and Calling actually made our campaign GIF into a poster and put that in all of the toilets on site, which I thought was brilliant as well. Female-only spaces and festivals. Now, I don't know, I have a bit of a weird opinion about this. There are some festivals that are introducing female-only campsites, and there's also been talk of a female-only festival in Sweden. Now, I think a female-only festival is a band-aid fix, and it's not a long-term solution. It's a very strong statement, but it's not actually fixing the problem. I think, segregating girls from the men, and it's kind of saying, oh, women are weak, and we need to protect them at all times, so if we put a fence around them, it's going to fix everything, and there won't be rape anymore. And I think if you're going to fix this issue, men need to be involved in the conversation. However, I do think that the female-only venue that Glastonbury had a few years ago called the Sisterhood is an entirely different thing. I think in that instance, they were promoting and celebrating feminism and girl power rather than feeling like they needed to hide from the boys because they were scared. So these are some of the things that festivals and events can be doing moving forward. So train your staff pre-event. You can get Rape Crisis involved in this, and I highly recommend any event organizers do this. Communicate with your audience pre-event. Have a policy. It's quite simple, but you need to name it. You need to say that sexual assault is not okay. It can't be fluffy and say that this is a safe space. You just need to say it's not okay, sexual assault is not tolerated. Brief staff pre-event and use disclosure pathway documents to do this. So a disclosure pathway document is literally a piece of paper that you can give to a welfare worker, a security guard, and it says, if someone has been sexually assaulted, these are these steps and these are the actions that you need to take. Promote zero tolerance reporting and the importance of consent on site. So once you're on site, your pre-event messaging needs to then flow on site. Monitor during the event and react supportively and efficiently. Again, if you're properly trained and your staff are trained, this should be happening anyway. And then evaluate post-event and support victims. I think it's crucial that people should be able to report these incidents post-event. Lots of people go home maybe after a festival and they'll report it on social media, but there should be a way for someone to report it to the festival post-event. On site when it happens, you might feel embarrassed, guilty, in denial, and it might not be until you get home and you've actually sat down and processed what happened and you have a conversation with someone and you realize, hey, actually, yeah, that wasn't okay and I want to talk to someone about it. So there should be a phone number or an email available on the festival website or event website where people can report these things post-event if they feel comfortable. Now, according to Rape Crisis, if you do all of these things correctly, it's going to lead to an increase of sexual assault disclosures. Now, that doesn't mean that you're creating a bigger problem. It means that your reporting rate is getting better, and that's a good thing. So it means that your audience is now more aware and feels comfortable to report these things. And I think, with everything that's been happening with Hollywood and Parliament and general society recently, everyone does seem to be a bit more aware, a bit more likely to call these things out, which is great. But it's why we need to keep the conversation going, and also in live music. It can't be normalized in a live gig or festival environment because a person deserves to be respected and not assaulted no matter where they are. Thanks to Penny Mellor, one of our campaign partners, we actually have some welfare guidance available for event organizers on the AIF website. These are the few key points from it, but it goes into great detail, and it also has links to other support partners and extra information, and I highly recommend having a look at it if you do organise events. And I've also been developing a standardised sexual assault policy for festivals to use on websites, and that would also include information about how victims can report incidents post-event. So these three of our campaign partners are very easy to get in contact with, and I would highly recommend getting in contact with them regarding training, raising awareness, or having a presence on site at events. They're all incredibly passionate people and brilliant at what they do in trying to tackle sexual assault and support victims. Thank you.